are Geekcentric, and you can be too. Love ya. Get home safe, guys. Peace.
Hey there, geeks. My name is Nate, and welcome to the Geekcentric podcast, and welcome to yet another special Behind the Geeks episode for Marvel Studios' X-Men 97. Now, this is kind of interesting because we're doing this special Behind the Geeks episode after the series has been out. So I will just forewarn light spoilers, I guess, for X-Men 97 Season 1. I mean, if you're listening to this, come on, you've watched the show. But if not, definitely go check out all the episodes. We wouldn't want to spoil anything from this incredible show. Special thanks, as always, to our friends at Disney Plus Canada and Marvel Studios Canada for these fantastic opportunities to get to talk to these lovely, talented people who helped create what I think we'd all agree, is probably the best thing Marvel's done since Endgame. But that's not just me saying that. Not only does Magneto live, but my mutant brother lives. He's Justin, the Jubilee and Logan loving Lawrence. To me, my Justin. How's it going, man?
I would entirely agree with you in your statement of saying that this is probably the best thing since Endgame. I know we've gotten, WandaVision and Loki, and those were great, but I don't know, for a fresh adaptation in the animation space.
Yeah.
Because you said it's Marvel Studios. We have to remember it's under the new banner now.
Marvel Television?
Marvel Animation.
Marvel Animation.
Oh, you got to remember that.
Yeah.
Got to remember all these things, right? But it's, I totally agree. And yes, I'm doing well. I'm excited about these interviews. I'm excited to talk to geek out with anyone about this show. And that I feel like is very much what this interview is specifically tailored to, is geeking out about this show.
Well, how's it been? I mean, this is our first week without a new episode of X-Men 97. Are you feeling it?
Yeah, well, I've already revisited my favorite episodes. So
I was gonna say I'm not sad. I'm just gonna watch them again.
I'm just gonna binge these 10 episodes over and over again in random order. And it's really crazy to think about how much went on in these 10 episodes, like where we started and where we inevitably ended in the finale, with the crazy outcomes and introductions of new things to look forward to for season 2. It's definitely going to leave a hole, but I'm just happy that I have the episodes that I can just readily watch whenever I want. So
what a gift.
Yeah, it's definitely a gift that will keep on giving for quite some time until we get season 2, of course. We get season 2.
No, yeah, I'm definitely gonna keep rewatching it. But you got to chat with some pretty fantastic people. I mean, you've already had the opportunity to chat with a few folks who I'll talk about maybe at the end of this episode. But two wonderful people that you got a chance to chat with. Would you mind letting our lovely mutant listeners know who you got to talk to?
Yeah, well, I was fortunate enough to talk to the two directors of this series. Now, Emmett Yonemura, they are the director of episodes 3, 5, 7, and 9, and Chase Conley, who was the director of episodes 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. Nice even set of numbers. The first episode was directed by Jake Castorino, who I was fortunate enough to talk with before the series launched. But yeah, this, it's great to just kind of round out this conversation with these directors. Like you said, we are so fortunate and grateful for the opportunities. And I just love talking to directors. I love getting the insight and asking them some questions about the creative process. And there's some really great questions here that pull at that, the idea of how much of geeks and fans they are of this franchise and of these characters, and just how connected they were through this process, being that they are very much leading a team. So it's just great to talk to people that are in that creative process.
Well, and it's mind-blowing to me that, I think it was on our finale episode that you had mentioned that these episodes were directed by two directors, or I guess technically three directors,
Yeah.
with Jake doing the first one. But that whole aspect to it, and I mean, again, listen, we talk about TV shows a lot. Like, I understand that a lot of TV shows are directed by multiple people. It's just that the consistency and how well all these episodes just work so fluidly together. I thought it was one person that was
Sure.
directing this, right? And the
Yeah.
fact that it's this team is just so cool.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And I think that, again, they nailed it in that aspect of keeping it consistent, keeping it holistically feeling the same. And as you said, making it feel like it's really one director that's leading this charge, bringing to life this fabulous series.
Yeah. Well, listen, we're going to do another hour of us just gushing about the show, and then we'll get to the interview. No, I'm just kidding. Please enjoy our interview with the directors of X-Men 97 Season 1, Emmett Yonemura and Chase Conley.
Emmy, Chase, thank you so much for joining us on the Geekcentric podcast. It is such an honor to be talking to both of you. Congratulations on the show. I'm sure you've been hearing it all day, especially with the finale being as epic as it was. Kind of want to start there with sort of the fan reaction, the week-to-week conversations that engaged fans on such a huge level. How have you guys felt from kind of following that excitement and that passion week to week?
Well, I mean, I actually really love the weekly release format. I've never really been a big binge watch kind of person. I've binged things. Don't get me wrong, if it's there and I've got time, but I like to let things marinate. And even in those situations, whenever an entire season of something is uploaded, I'll maybe watch two and I'll step away for some days, and I'll come back, and once I've had the ample time to kind of absorb it and things like that. And but no, we've been making this show for 3 years by the time that the show aired. So we're working in that vacuum. And we've seen these episodes a million times over, maybe not so much final animation as it appears on screen, but going back into animatic format and things of that nature. But it's always very rewarding whenever let's say you fought for a moment, or you're like, this is going to be dope. And then fans love it, So we've seen a lot of that happen on both of our teams, from a lot of contributions from our team members, as far as just things that they fought for. They wanted to include their own personal embellishments because of their fandom for this particular character, and then to have everybody kind of embrace those moments. There's nothing like it. It's very surreal. I'll give you that. And but I wouldn't trade it for anything. I'm just happy that everybody is happy because we enjoyed making the show.
That's awesome. I mean, how about for yourself?
Yeah. You know what? All the same. I mean, this whole crew, including ourselves, we're huge fans of the X-Men. From the comics to the original animated series to even the movies. It's just, I think we got nervous. We were like, I hope we're doing this right. I hope we're bringing them justice. I hope people like it as much as we do. Because like Jay said, we were working in a vacuum for kind of 3 years. And so seeing each episode come out and then getting everybody's reactions and excitement each week was really rewarding, but it also just let us kind of know, all right, maybe we're doing something right here,
Yeah. It would be a huge sense of validation to hear, because that's how I felt. I'm like, the team must just be freaking out at how much people are just validating every decision that was made, that went into making this such a huge success from episode to episode. And with that comes a lot of consistency. And given the fact that two directors, you directed the entire season together, it's like you mentioned, you had teams, but there must have been a strong sense of cohesive, collaborative nature between the two of you and your teams to ensure, the tone was there, the character development, even the way the storylines really come across and tie in towards this finale. What did that workflow look like? What did that communication look like?
Well, I mean, it was easy because as soon as Emmett came on board, we were sharing the same language, and we were fans of the same stuff. So it was like a shorthand. And I know, there's no show that starts off the way that they initially envisioned it to the way that it ends up. It always kind of transforms into its own thing. But from the onset, I think we were just like, look, this is what we want to make. This is what we're fans of. This is the era of animation we want to emulate that takes place kind of around that same time period, but leans more into more of a cinematic kind of staging, Because we love to feel the stakes. I think that, and that's the old show. You felt the stakes in that show, but I felt like we could kind of pair that with cinematography that matched the gravity of some of these situations
100%.
that we didn't see from American cartoons at that time. So
Agreed.
it was easy, it was easy, and there was never a hiccup. I think we were attached from the hips like right from the jump. So easiest process ever. I don't even have any more to add to that actually,
Sure.
which is a great
Yeah.
thing.
Honestly, as soon as we realized, it felt like we were like almost siblings who grew up in two different households but had all the
Mhm.
same like access to the same
Right.
media. It was like,
Yeah.
oh, this is easy. This is
Right.
great.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Now, my last question, as I get here to wrap, both of you have spent so much time with these characters and understanding them and developing their stories for this season. Kind of a personal question for each of you. Is there a specific character or storyline that you really connected with or that really resonated with you? I mean, why don't we start with you?
Sure. Yeah. You know what? I wasn't expecting Madeline Pryor to mean so much to me.
Yeah.
I do identify as trans non-binary, more masculine, so I've never actually in my past really related to female characters that closely. Yet here comes this character who's this strong, badass woman who has to find herself in chaos, and I just found myself kind of falling in love with her story to the point where I wanted to make sure that we saw it in 105, almost get its own little bit of conclusion. It's a
Yeah.
bittersweet ending for her. But that came out of nowhere because when I was a kid, Morph, Cable, Cyclops, they were my favorites. And
Right.
they are still my favorites. But that was a character I wasn't expecting. And I truly, I think she's now up there with them.
How about for you, Chase?
Well, I like a lot that that we did this season. It's kind of tough to choose, but I probably would go to the trial of Magneto. I've always kind of been I identify with that. I think that there's a lot of it too in terms of cultural relevance. I've always felt when it comes to that as well, and I think I had spoken about this before, but it's like he was on trial essentially representing all of mutant kind,
Correct.
and as opposed to just being Magneto on trial, mutant kind, they were on trial. And I thought that it was interesting, just to see, and it had some of his lines as well. Just, like he's like, oh, you play by the rules and still they come for you, and then on top of him taking them up to the upper atmosphere and being like, look, I'm trying to be nice to you. Like I'm
Yes.
trying my
Yeah.
best. You took out one of my homies, one of our best and brightest, and I'm still gonna show you a level of restraint. um but also too, I mean, that the heartbreak that he had to feel in terms of like imposing himself in that moment. He sheds a single tear for Storm before turning and facing them and essentially winning independence for the nation of Genosha. I thought it was great, and it was a great way to a great segue coming out of episode 1, which was there to remind the audience like, this is X-Men, we got Sentinels, all that kind of stuff that you remember, into like heavy hitting social commentary, which is
Yeah.
very relevant today.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yeah, and that's the whole dialogue around the show was incredibly relevant, very mature, very focused, and again, that consistency was there. I mean, Chase, thank you so much for again taking the time to join us on the Geekcentric podcast. I know you've been hearing it again all day, but this is literally the single best thing that I have watched of 2024, and I'm just already revisiting it, and thank you so much. And I know you both are directors, and I know there's such a huge team behind that also helps to bring these to life. So to you and the team, thank you so much for this series, and I look forward to season 2.
Thank
yeah,
you
no,
so
shout
much.
out shout out to our team for sure. Amazing.
Awesome. Have a good one, guys.
And we are back. That was so lovely. It's great to hear how rewarding it was for them to get to experience all the love that this show has gotten recently. You had also spoken with George Buza, the voice of Beast, and I remember in that interview he said like, when they were making the show for the entirety of them making the show, they didn't really know
Yeah, Twitter wasn't a thing.
what the reception was, right? And so it's like, it's nice to see that in an era of what usually is such a toxic internet fandom, that they just felt the love after putting in 3 years of work on this show weekly. I think that was probably my favorite thing to hear is that just how much love they were receiving, because rightly so.
Well, yeah, and like they said, it's done in sort of a vacuum. It's just them and their teams, and they're building these things out, and they're like, "Oh, this would be cool. This would be cool." But you're never
Mhm.
going to know until fans see it. So to see the week to week reactions to the events, the stories, the character development that happens throughout all of these episodes, it's an immediate validation for these directors and their teams that they got it right. You know what I mean? And they nailed so much of what people love and appreciate about the X-Men, and that goes hand in hand with great writing. But we talked about it in our spoiler filled. It's that marriage between great storytelling and great animation that really makes this series sing as being one of the best.
And I'm glad it sounds like they really pushed through. They had a vision, and you can tell by the way they talk about this stuff just how confident they are in the story that they wanted to tell. And at the very base level of the show, you can just see that wholeheartedly. We talk about how all the time is the show doing what it is intending to. Is it hitting its goals, right? Is it confident in what it wants to do? And absolutely 100%. And you can just see that in their responses, in the way that they talk about what they love, and in their backgrounds. I mean, I love seeing Emmett's background, all the statues and the figures and the comic book covers. And shout out to Batman was back there. It's not just Marvel stuff, like to kind of understand this. They're a geek, right? And so I think to see that the people who make the things we love have rooms that look just like what I imagine all of us as fans our rooms look like is awesome.
I think that goes without saying. I know we've seen Pixar directors and other animated directors who just have rooms full of toys. I'm pretty sure that there's a Funko wall somewhere at Lucasfilm where they have just all their favorite Star Wars Funko characters, if not all of them, just littered across the wall. So there's a fandom that is very prevalent in this world, and passion that exists, and it's great to see it from the directors of the show, and how much of that they put into this show, to the point of where they're connecting with specific characters and storylines. Like to hear Emmy say that they're connecting with Madeline Pryor's story, and usually they would connect to more masculine characters, but here they're so moved and touched by how badass this character of Madeline is, and the journey that she goes on. That's what you want. It's like kind of a character that can pull you out of maybe the typical characters that you might associate with or identify with, and just kind of see a different perspective. I think that's so passionate. And then obviously Chase with talking about Magneto and the trial of Magneto, and that whole arc of that story, and that episode, which was so powerful as an episode too. He says it's such a great segue from the first episode, which is like a reintroduction to the X-Men, Sentinels, and that world, and it feels very reminiscent of the very first episode. But then episode 2 hits hard with this political drama in a lot of ways that unfolds, and it's just, it sets the tone to show you how different these X-Men, or this X-Men story, will be from the X-Men story that we came from in 92.
But that's just it, right? To hear how important it was to Chase and to the team to ensure that relevancy of the social commentary in the show. It just reminds me of how impressive it is that they were able to pull off such a balance of a show that takes place in the 90s, but it's so timeless in what they're saying and the messages that they were delivering week to week. And then, this might be just me being a geek, and we tend to always look into things a little too much. but when Emmy mentioned, they talked about a slight conclusion for episode 5 for Madeline Pryor, and I was like, slight conclusion. So like, it sounded like there's a possibility that maybe it's not the end for Madeline. I don't know. That was the vibe.
I think slight conclusion was the idea of how Madeline gets a sense of closure, of understanding what happened to Nathan. I think that's that closure before she passes, or before she's blown to bits. Of course, spoiler alert. But yeah, I think that's how I interpreted it, and I took that as being sort of the idea that they didn't want to just remove her character, have her go through those events and just disappear. They wanted to give some sort of little send off to her, and I think it does do that. A lot of people were wondering, is she actually dead? And I think, if anything, this interview kind of confirms that in a lot of ways, because it's a bittersweet end. But who knows? You could be right. There's always the possibility of someone surviving something.
Well, I really hope that both of them, both Chase and both Emmy, have a hand in the next season.
I think they will,
because they killed it, and the fact that you got to say thank you directly to them, and by extension directly to their team, that's such a great thing.
I think it's always like when there's these names and these titles that are floating around with each of these episodes, we forget the team that's behind them. Like, yeah, you could say Christopher Nolan's a great director, but that's because he knows how to work with so many different people all at once to keep a cohesive vision. And that's exactly what this team did. These two directors managed massive teams that helped bring these episodes to life, and they kept the consistency of the characters, the tone, the vibe, and everything across the board. And that is something to be applauded. And it never felt disjointed. It never felt disconnected. It felt like they were a hive mind working simultaneously on these episodes collectively, and they deserve all the flowers.
Absolutely. And I hopefully we get to chat with them again. But that's it for this special Behind the Geeks episode for X-Men 97. We hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, make sure to subscribe to us wherever you like to listen to podcasts if you haven't already. And if you want to write into the show with your thoughts on this series or any of the shows or movies we cover, well, you don't have to have Xavier enter your mind. Instead, Justin, can you put the helmet on? Put the Cerebro on. Yeah, got it on. Can you telepathically let the lovely mutants and humans know how they can reach us?
They can reach us at wearegeekcentric@gmail.com. That's wearegeekcentric@gmail.com. Oh, and they can reach out to us on Twitter. It will always be known as Twitter at GeekcentricYT, or on Instagram at wearegeekcentric.
I mean, was Twitter around in 97? Was Twitter a
no,
thing?
20,
no, okay.
No, it was not. Jeez.
But for Xavier, maybe Xavier knew about.
He was mind tweeting. He was mind tweeting with Cerebro.
But he would always get so frustrated because there was only a certain number of thoughts that he was allowed to put in.
Hashtag wish I had more time.
Oh, man. Keep in mind, as we've been talking about, we have a ton of other great episodes covering all things X-Men 97, including our spoiler-filled discussion of the first season and its finale. Justin, Kevin, and Megan and I, we talked about our favorite moments, our favorite lines of dialogue, and what we think is next in the show. Plus, as I mentioned a bit earlier, we have some other interviews with the cast of X-Men 97, as well as the crew. Interviews with Lenore Zahn, the voice of Rogue, Suga. She is just one of the nicest ladies. George Buza, the voice of Beast, and Jake Castorena, who is the supervising producer and supervising director. Justin had the opportunity to chat with all of them. And they're a great thing to watch while you wait for season 2, and while you maybe rewatch this show over and over again. So go check out those interviews and this one over, either on your podcast service of choice, or honestly, if you want to go check out, if you want to see the smiling face, if you want to see Emmy's background with all the epic statues, definitely go check it out on YouTube at youtube.com/geekcentric. It's a really fun one, and I won't spoil it, but Chase has also got a pretty epic background of a specific character that, I think you might be able to guess who that was. Also, another thing to check out if you need even more behind the scenes content, and I know I'm going to watch it, Marvel Studios Assembled, the making of X-Men 97 is out on Disney Plus right now. So yeah, we just got to end this whole thing, and I got to go watch it right now.
Yeah, we'll go watch it.
Perfect. But listen, we'd love it if you'd leave a like, a review, maybe even comment on our YouTube videos. If you'd share one of them, we wouldn't get these incredible interviews if it wasn't for your support. So thank you so much for continuing to join us as we cover all things geek-centric. We've got a ton of great stuff coming at you as the hot geek summer is only getting hotter. Justin, thank you so much for joining me for this special Behind the Geeks interview. And as we say, love ya.
Peace.